What if I told you your Labrador may spend an entire lifetime waiting for one impossible gift, and most loving owners never realize it? Behind those gentle eyes is a dog swallowing water, mud, speed, hunger, and wild joy every single day, just to remain the good dog. He is not just patient, he is standing at the edge of his deepest instinct, silently asking whether you will ever say yes. And the heartbreaking truth is this: the one thing he may want most is not your house, your toys, or your commands. It is one day of total freedom beside you, where he no longer has to choose between loving you and being himself. Have you ever noticed a Labrador can wait beside your life for years, asking almost nothing, yet watching every tiny signal as if it matters? People call that patience, but many Labradors are not simply calm. They are practicing a lifelong discipline of holding back joy until you allow it. They learn your footsteps, your breathing, your door sounds, your moods, because their world keeps asking one question: is this finally my moment? From puppyhood, many Labradors stare at the human silhouette ahead of them, waiting for a glance, a nod, a tossed object, or permission to explode. What looks easy from outside is actually a life shaped by restraint, especially in places where good manners matter more than instinctive release. In much of Britain, a Labrador may walk beautiful paths on leash, pass open fields, smell wet earth, and still be expected to stay composed. That means the dog often sees puddles, reeds, ducks, and muddy banks, like invitations from another world, then keeps moving because you asked. Our viewers often misunderstand this breed as endlessly happy, but happiness is only the surface. Underneath sits a worker, built to retrieve, carry, and return. The Labrador was shaped to notice direction, hold energy, watch humans closely, and feel a deep, internal reward when effort ends in your approval. So when your dog freezes with shining eyes before water, that pause is not hesitation alone. It is a lifetime of readiness, meeting rules. Labradors become experts at swallowing their first impulse, because living with humans usually teaches them that excitement must wait until someone in charge says yes. Over time, that waiting becomes identity, and the dog starts measuring love through obedience, as if being good is the safest way to belong. This is why many Labradors look almost unbearably attentive during ordinary days. Even when nothing dramatic happens and no one realizes what they keep postponing. They are not waiting for luxury, and they are not dreaming about expensive toys. Often they are waiting for permission to feel completely alive. A last wish for a Labrador might look astonishingly simple. Let me choose the path. Let me enter the water. Let me bring you something. Not for disobedience, not for chaos, but for one sacred day where instinct and love no longer stand on opposite sides of the leash. That is the heart of a Labrador yes day. Instead of training your dog to follow, you temporarily become the one who listens. The story begins at home, where the dog wakes into another normal morning, expecting routines, small permissions, and the familiar discipline of being sensible. He watches you from the floor while breakfast happens, reading your posture the way other creatures read weather, never interrupting, always ready to respond. Even when he wants closeness, he often approaches carefully, because years of good behavior have taught him that self-control keeps harmony intact. Outside, the leash clicks on like every other day, and he accepts it without protest, though his nose already knows the world is wide. He steps beside you with trained restraint, but his body keeps offering tiny clues, quicker breaths, brighter eyes, and paws that almost dance. At the first crossroads, something unusual happens. You stop choosing, and for once you let his hesitation turn into real direction. Today, he looks back to confirm, almost unable to trust it, then pulls toward the smellier path, where grass, hedges, and damp soil promise secrets. This first freedom is not dramatic yet. It is measured in sniffing, lingering, circling, and staying exactly where curiosity says, stay today. Humans often rush walks like tasks, but Labradors experience them like newspapers, reading every damp leaf, paw mark, wind shift, and passing story. When you let him pause as long as he wants, you are finally speaking a language he has spent years trying to understand. The miracle is not speed, but permission, because his whole body softens when exploration stops feeling stolen and starts feeling openly allowed. Soon the safe field opens ahead, fenced and quiet, and the leash comes off with a simplicity that almost feels too powerful. Many Labradors do not celebrate freedom with immediate madness. First, they stand still, stunned, as if checking whether rules have truly changed. And then the release arrives in waves from shoulder to tail, and suddenly the dog moves like stored sunlight, finally discovering an opening. He runs a little, returns, runs again, not leaving you behind but orbiting you. Because freedom means most when shared with his person. That detail matters deeply. Labradors do not dream of escaping the relationship. They dream of bringing their truest energy safely back into it. So the yes day is not rebellion against love. It is love widened enough to include the instincts everyday life usually compresses. From the field he finds a scent trail, nose low, body urgent, and you follow without correcting the zigzags that once seemed pointless. To him, this is not distraction. It is participation in a world textured by fox traces, bird feathers, rabbit passages, and yesterday's rain. Every long sniff is a decision, every sudden turn a sentence, and every return to your side says he still wants you included. This is what many owners miss. Obedience may keep a Labrador manageable, but choice is what lets his inner map finally unfold. Before water appears, he senses it first, lifting his head with that electric recognition Labradors carry, like old music in their bones. The pond waits beyond reeds and open sky, ordinary to human eyes, but to him it feels like the door to origin. Here, generations wake up inside one body, the swimmer, the finder, the returner, the dog built to plunge forward and bring back. Yet even now he pauses at the edge, looking to you first, because instinct may scream go, but devotion still waits for permission. When you smile and throw the dummy into rippling water, his whole life seems to sharpen into one perfect command he was born to answer. He launches without shame, without restraint, without apology, and the splash is bigger than water because it breaks years of careful holding. In that moment, he is not misbehaving, not losing control, not becoming wild in a dangerous way. He is becoming complete again. He cuts through the pond with the joy of recognition, grabs the object, and turns back proudly because the ending always matters. Retrieving is not only about chasing, it is about reunion, the beautiful little ceremony of taking something far away and delivering it home. That is why many Labradors return from water looking almost radiant, because they are carrying more than an object. They are carrying purpose. When he places the dummy in your hand, the exchange is simple, but his face often says something enormous. Did you see me? For a Labrador, being seen at full instinct while still being loved may be one of the deepest satisfactions a day can hold. You throw again, and again he answers, not because he is trapped in service, but because this kind of effort feels like truth. There is mud now, glorious mud, and he charges through it with the kind of enthusiasm polite domestic life usually asks him to mute. Mud matters because it removes neatness from the contract, letting the dog choose sensation over presentation, joy over tidiness, impulse over performance. Many Labradors spend whole lives hearing subtle versions of careful, gentle, later, not now, stay close, calm down, leave it there please. So a single day filled with yes can feel almost unbelievable, as if the world finally stopped translating his desires into corrections. After the pond, he stays closer to you, not less attached, but more, because release often deepens trust when freedom was given safely. This surprises people who fear that letting a dog choose will weaken manners, when often the opposite happens and connection grows steadier. He has not forgotten you. He has remembered himself in front of you, which is a far more intimate kind of loyalty. By afternoon, his movements change from explosive delight to satisfied softness, the way real fulfillment settles after a body has used itself honestly. Now comes another kind of waiting, not for action this time, but for whatever gift arrives, when your human finally understands you. Back home, the house smells familiar again. Yet the day has changed its meaning because you are no longer managing him first. Instead, you are noticing him, and that small reversal can feel enormous to a Labrador whose heart has always leaned toward service. He follows you into the kitchen with damp memories still clinging to him, wondering whether the miracles are finished or still quietly unfolding. Then he smells something impossible for ordinary days. Meat prepared just for him, warm and plain, not forbidden, not stolen, not accidental. Many Labradors know the ache of dinner tables very well, where rich human food lives close enough to smell, but never touch. They wait under chairs and beside knees, not only hungry for flavor, but trained to respect a border that constantly tempts them. So when you place a simple steak or unseasoned chicken into his bowl, the gift is larger than taste alone for him. It tells him this day includes his pleasure too, not as a leftover after your rules, but as something intentionally chosen first. He eats with focus, yet keeps looking up between bites, because Labradors rarely separate joy from relationship for very long at all. The meal matters not because he wanted luxury every day, but because once in a lifetime, being included this fully becomes unforgettable. Afterward, he rests near you with a depth of calm that differs from ordinary tiredness, because his needs were answered in their own language. This is the emotional center many people miss. Labradors do not only crave activity, they crave meaningful permission inside the bond itself. They want your approval, yes, but sometimes the greatest approval is not praise after restraint. It is freedom granted before restraint begins. That is why a yes day can feel almost holy to this breed, because it blesses both obedience and instinct instead of choosing between them. The Labrador is not asking to stop loving you. He is asking whether love can make room for all of him today. And when you answer yes with your actions, he does not become spoiled. He becomes profoundly relieved, like tension finally receiving an exit. Even his eyes change by evening, softer and brighter together, because nothing settles an animal like having body, instinct, and attachment align. Perhaps that is the last wish hidden inside thousands of ordinary Labrador days. Not more commands, but one unforgettable day without inner conflict. A day where every pause ends in permission, every urge finds a safe outlet, and every return to you ends in pride. Because for a Labrador, fulfillment is rarely about possession. It is about doing what he was made to do beside you freely. Experts often remind us that dogs live on a faster clock, their years condensing emotions, habits, and hopes into a span humans underestimate. Whether or not you count it as 7 times quicker, the truth remains painful. A Labrador does not have endless chances here. His waiting years are precious, precisely because they pass so quietly. Folded into school runs, work days, wet coats, and ordinary evenings home. That is why the things he postpones for you deserve attention, especially if those postponed joys are tied to his deepest instincts. He may not need constant indulgence, and he certainly still needs safety, but a life of only restraint leaves something unfinished inside. The goal is not reckless freedom. The goal is chosen freedom, shaped by trust, where your Labrador can be fully himself safely. That could mean longer sniffing, cleaner permission, more retrieving, more swimming, or a meal prepared with intention instead of convenience for once. The specific gift may vary, but the emotional result is similar. The dog stops negotiating with himself and simply begins to glow. You see it in the tail, the easier mouth, the deeper rest, and the peaceful way he keeps choosing your side afterward. He is not grateful for entertainment alone. He is grateful that the person he trusts finally recognized what his patience was protecting. So many Labradors spend their lives being beautifully good, that people forget goodness often costs them 1,000 swallowed impulses inside daily. A yes day repays some of that cost, not by spoiling the dog, but by telling him his hidden longings were valid. It says, I see the worker under the pet, the swimmer under the gentleman, the joy under the discipline at last today. And perhaps most importantly, it says you do not need to earn every beautiful moment by suppressing what you were born to feel. For a breed that loves pleasing people, that message can land like mercy, because permission itself becomes the reward it waited for. By night, he may sleep harder than usual, paws twitching through remembered water, open space, rich scent, and the warm taste of yes. You might think the best part was the pond or the steak, but those were only forms that freedom happened to take. The real gift was that he did not have to choose between loving you and being fully Labrador for one day alive. And once you have seen that version of him, ordinary obedience will never look quite the same again to you anymore either. You will notice the pauses more tenderly, the glances more seriously, and the quiet patience that was never empty at all before. Because every time your Labrador waits politely, there may be a whole tide of instinct standing just behind that stillness for you. And every time he looks to you before moving, he may be asking the oldest question in your shared life. May I be me? If one day you answer with a careful, loving yes, the memory may last longer in him than you ever expect possible. Not because dogs worship special events, but because they remember states of safety, where joy, purpose, and closeness all arrive together perfectly. That is what many Labradors wait a lifetime for. Not indulgence without you, but freedom with you, fully witnessed and warmly allowed. So the final wish hidden in his patient eyes may be simpler than anyone imagines. Please stop directing me for one day. Let me show you the path, the water, the mud, the treasure, the hunger, and the beautiful work still living inside me. Walk behind me a little, trust me a little, and watch how quickly love becomes brighter when restraint finally opens up today. Throw it again, laugh at the mess, feed me well, and see that my wildest joy was always trying to come home. Then when I sleep beside you tonight, I will not just be tired. I will be answered, settled, and deeply at peace. And that is the Labrador many people never fully meet. Because rules show his manners first, while his deepest wishes stay politely hidden. But on the day you finally listen back, the hidden dog steps forward, and what appears is not chaos but wholeness itself. You discover that patience was never emptiness, obedience was never his whole personality, and stillness was never the end of the story. It was only the doorway to a bigger truth. He has been carrying desire carefully so it would remain safe in your hands. And maybe that is what love looks like from a Labrador's side, not demanding more, just waiting beautifully for your permission someday. So before the years run faster than you think, ask what quiet instinct your dog has been postponing in order to stay good. Then give it a safe, loving place to breathe, and stand there long enough to witness who he becomes for you today. Because the thing your Labrador may wait an entire life for is not a better toy, but a day of total permission. A day when he can be devoted and untamed, disciplined and instinctive, happy and overflowing, all without losing a drop of your love. And if you grant that day, even once, you may finally understand what he was watching your back for all those years.